The bus rumbled down the lonely highway at midnight, its headlights cutting through the thick fog. Rahul sat near the window, half asleep, watching the empty road stretch ahead. There were only a few passengers, all silent, lost in their own worlds. At the next stop, the door hissed open, and a woman in a white sari stepped in. Her face was pale, almost ghostly, and she took the seat right behind Rahul. A strange chill spread through the bus. A few minutes passed before Rahul felt something odd. His seat felt heavier, like someone was leaning against it. Then he heard it. "Can you help me?" A whisper, faint yet chilling. Rahul turned his head slightly, his heart pounding. The woman sat motionless, staring out the window, and her reflection in the glass wasn't looking outside. It was staring directly at him. Panic crawled up his spine. He turned fully to face her, but the seat was empty. The bus screeched to a halt. The driver stood up, his face pale. "Why did you sit there?" he asked Rahul in a trembling voice. That seat has been empty for years. The woman who last sat there never made it home." Rahul felt a cold breath against his ear. "Neither will you." The whisper came from nowhere, yet everywhere.
Arv had always been drawn to old hotels, their history hidden behind faded wallpaper and creaking floorboards. So when he checked into the Ravenswood Inn, a century-old mansion-turned-hotel, he wasn't surprised by its eerie silence. The receptionist handed him a key with a peculiar warning, "Don't enter room 306. Arv chuckled. "Why not?" The receptionist handed him a key with a peculiar warning, "Don't enter room 306. Arv chuckled. "Why not?" The receptionist hesitated. That room doesn't always stay where it should. Brushing off the cryptic remark, Arv took his key and made his way to room 305. That night, around 3 a.m., he awoke to a faint knock. Groggy, he looked at his door. Nothing. Then he noticed something strange. The room numbers had shifted. The door across the hall, which was room 307 when he checked in, now read 306. Curious, he stepped outside. The hallway was deathly silent. He reached for the doorknob of room 306, and the moment his fingers touched it, the air around him turned icy. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, the room was wrong. The furniture was covered in dust, the air smelled of decay, and the window showed not the quiet street outside, but a swirling abyss of darkness. On the bed lay an old, yellowed newspaper with a headline. "Man goes missing in hotel room 306, body never found." Arv felt his stomach drop. He turned to leave, only to find that the hallway was gone. In its place was an endless stretch of identical rooms, all labeled 306. The whispers started then. Soft at first, then growing louder. "You shouldn't have entered." The door slammed shut. The hotel staff never saw Arv again. And room 306? It had vanished by morning. Mira moves into an old apartment building, excited for a fresh start. The rent was suspiciously cheap, but she doesn't question it. As she unpacks, she notices a locked door in the hallway. Mira, frowning, strange. The landlord didn't mention an extra room. She asks the neighbor, an elderly man, about it. Old man, nervously, "That room? Forget it exists. Never open it." Mira laughs it off, but curiosity lingers in her mind. That night, Mira wakes up to a faint sound, soft scratching from the locked door. She sits up, heart pounding. Then, a whisper. Voice from the room, "Let me out." She rushes to the door, pressing her ear against it. Silence. Thinking it's a dream, she returns to bed. At exactly 3 a.m., the scratching starts again. This time, the whispers turn into desperate knocking. Unable to resist any longer, Mira finds an old key and unlocks the door. The room is empty, except for an old wooden chair facing the wall. A thick layer of dust covers the floor, yet footprints lead from the chair to the doorway. Chills run down her spine. As she turns to leave, the door slams shut behind her. The light flickers. A breath brushes against her neck. Voice, "You shouldn't have opened the door." The screen fades to black as Mira screams, the door rattling violently. The next morning, her apartment is found abandoned. The locked room is locked once again. The end.
Like, comment, and subscribe.